Three, two, and one.
Welcome to the Purpose with Purvis show. I'm Jacklyn Purvis, and I'm here with my dad, my mentor, my business partner, Jamie Purvis. We're the father-daughter coaching team and co-founders of the Be Do Have movement. Each week, we're going to be diving into real-life strategies, inspiring stories to help you dream big, find your purpose, and take actionable steps towards living the life you've always wanted. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share to get the latest episodes first. Let's get started. Welcome back. We are talking today all things a little bit purpose related, a little bit of an event we went to, all about tapping back into investing in you and your future self, what that means. Jamie and I went to an event last weekend. It was called the Archangel Summit. It's a big personal growth, personal development event, and we've come up with some notes that we're going to be sharing. And I think it's funny because we didn't talk about it before we sat down today. And the first point we both wrote down was exactly the same. So talk about alignment there. What was your number one takeaway from this event?
Invest in yourself, and you really do need to create space. I always find it never feels like the right time. There's always something to do. You're always busy. And once you're there, it's just such an incredible place to be around like-minded people who are all there for one thing: to learn, share, and help you with whatever's going on in your life and your business.
I hadn't been to an event. We were chatting about this since for sure sometime. I couldn't even tell you. Don't remember the last one I've been to. So 3.5, 4 years now, I hadn't been to anything. So for me, it was just like a breath of fresh air afterwards of like, oh my goodness, why aren't you going? Why aren't you around people like this? And it is something special to be in a space where everyone in the room just believes in bigger things. Like it was like, oh, these are my people. This feels good. I find it's really easy to just start to get into a space where you're almost shrinking, maybe not shrinking, but just adjusting who you really are to fit into the people around you. And until you found your people, you need to go in communities where it feels like this. You need to put yourself in spaces. You need to invest in yourself to be in rooms where people are thinking bigger and you're hearing new concepts and new ideas and people are thinking outside the box, and that's normal. Like it really just re-energized me from going to this space.
You just nailed something: community, the value of the right community. And I think that's so important as well, like to find your people, find your community that you get that inspiration from, and you get that drive from. And you know what? It's be able to speak to somebody, and you know sometimes how much of a struggle things are. You're trying to do everything, and then somebody else has gone through and is going through the same thing. So it gives you a place where you can vent, you can share what you're going through, and just feel comfortable around it and know that you're not going to be judged. And more importantly, like, somebody's going to share an idea with you that could literally help you get out of what you're in.
Anyone listening right now, tap into that. Begin to notice every single conversation you have, how you feel when you're done with that conversation, how that left you in that sense. And I think that was such an aha coming out of this because I was so energized. It was like, I need more of those type of people in my life. I need more of those relationships. I need to be more of myself and not try to be somebody else so it makes other people comfortable.
Yeah, that came through the messaging as well. And I know it came through because that's what we're going through, right? We're constantly talking about your imagined life, your future self. And as a result of that, you hear that messaging all the time. And just quote that I loved. I don't recall who said it because I always like to give credit. It would: surround yourself with people who believe in your new story, not your old one. Right. So getting clear on where you're going and what you want, and then living from that place. You want people that see you in that light, maybe not seeing you who you used to be, right? And then even being able to let go of that old identity. And that's the constant battle in a way. Your future life, your future self, and then your old paradigms keep you stuck. And we're going back and forth, and just getting around people that really want to see you thrive, and step into that, and are literally doing what often the goals you've set for yourself, they're doing it because they're living maybe a bigger life. than what you are right now. And that's why I love being inspired by people in this like-minded community, whatever community, get connected to somebody, some group that's going to inspire you. Yeah, it's just so important. It's just re-emphasized in my mind how important it is to be in these events on a regular basis, right? Just put yourself in these rooms on a regular basis.
I actually want to lean into that quote a little bit more. That was from Gio. Gio ran the
Okay.
event and started the event, and he said that, and that quote stood out for me too. I wrote it down right away, posted it on my stories. I want to lean into that a little bit more because that's something I really struggled with when it went from moving from the advertisement space into coaching. And I truly struggled with it with a lot of my friendships, actually. And just people, maybe that was an inner reflection of myself. I think we do mirror that in some sense. Perhaps that was some inner work I needed to focus on in continuing to show up as who I wanted to be in this new space. But I really struggled with feeling like I was accepted as a coach, really, and showing up from a personal development space. Did you find that at all, moving from the real estate team leader role into what you're doing now, or was that a little bit more of an easier transition for you?
I noticed it when I left selling real estate and stepped into management and leadership. It was, literally one day, 23 and a half years selling real estate. And then the next day I'm in an office and I'm the office manager leader. And it took me a while to wrap my head around that. And I know other people that knew me from being the realtor, being the guy that was, in that identity as a real estate agent. It took them a while to see me in a different light. Over time, as I saw myself and stepped into
Yeah.
that next identity, that next version of myself, they started to see it as well. So I think it could have been maybe a year or 2 years for some of those people because they knew me for so long as that person. And I left real estate and stepped into coaching. I think it wasn't as drastic for me because I was already coaching in the real estate space. I think I see it now, even talking through this, is entrepreneur, right? Business owner. So leaving an identity where I wasn't necessarily that entrepreneur, that business owner that was responsible for everything that comes with a business. Stepping into Be Do Have movement with you, now I had to encompass that identity in addition to coaching.
Well, that's a big identity shift as well. There's a difference from being in a corporate role, in a sense, because that's what you were doing from that
Hmm.
team leader
Yeah.
perspective, to anyone that owns their own business, because you're not just doing the service until you have a team. And most people that even we spoke to this past weekend, like we're talking 5 to 10 years in where you have a team to support you. You're wearing a bunch of hats you did not sign up for that you're figuring out as you go. All of it is just a new thing at once, and you're rolling with it and you're doing it. And that's just why it was so refreshing, I think, to be in a space with other business owners like that, because they were all like, "Yep, same experience, same thing." We struggle expressing what we do in a sense because you're doing so many more things and it doesn't always fit into like a perfect title.
You're trying to figure out who you are, and then you're trying to message that for other people. Confusion, right? So I see now, 5.5 years on this journey with you, we've gotten very clear on a couple things that we do. And we still do various coaching programs for different people, different industries. One pillar, though, that I know is very clear for me is the realtor world and the realtor space, and a program that we have specifically designed for realtors because that's the identity who I was in the past. So it was very easy for me to step into that now, but bring a different perspective to it, bring the leader, the coach, and the entrepreneur. And that's why I think this program is so holistic. It's not just real estate tools and tactics, it's the identity and the whole embodiment of who you are as a person in alignment with the things you do as a realtor.
That's a big portion of what we're doing now. So that one of our programs is called the Repeatable Revenue Roadmap. So that one is built specifically for real estate agents. We have another one, a membership, the Momentum membership, that's for service-based business owners. So we have authors in there, we have speakers. That one's a little bit more broad and it's all about personal growth. And then your one-to-one coaching specifically is that business support, also for service-based. There's definitely a high percentage of real estate agents in there. And the commonality I've noticed when we take away that title of what we call ourselves, between all of our programs is we've holistically combined mindset, lifestyle coaching, and business coaching into one. And I don't see that being talked about a lot. And that was really important for us because you saw that in the real estate space where people were getting absolutely burnt out because it was all about hit your numbers, call this many people a day. Like we've had so many clients come through and they're just exhausted. And nor does that always work for everybody.
Our clients keep telling us this particular program specifically for realtors is so different. They've been through these other programs and they gone through 12 weeks with us and they realize because it's more mindset based, it's more personal. We teach how do you build your business based on who you are. So you're not trying to take on these skills that aren't what you want to do. Right. So that's why they aren't successful. And I saw that very clearly when I was transitioning out of my real estate role, is that we had amazing training, but people weren't breaking through. So what was the gap and what was the missing piece? And that's that we named the company Be to Have Movement specifically because we wanted to focus on who do you need to become? Who are you being today? Because if we keep doing everything the way we've always done it without changing our mindset, our perspective, what we believe to be true, if we don't change that, nothing changes, right? We try to do things differently and incorporate all this training, but we don't get the transformational growth and outcome that we're seeing now because we're incorporating the mindset and being a different, using your imagination. Like, talking to somebody when we first start working together, and the first part of the journey is like, close your eyes and imagine yourself. You've already achieved your goals. Who are you? Who are you being? How are you thinking? Like that conversation isn't common in any of the trainings I've ever done. So causing us to slow down and just get into space. And I saw that this last weekend, right? Spending 2 days in an environment with people that this is what they're doing, right? They're putting themselves, imagining their life in the future and then reliving their future today.
It is that action through these things, you know? There's some people that don't always jive with events like this. And what I loved about this one specifically is it was a room of entrepreneurs. So that's always going to pull at me because I just love that space. But I've been to some that are a little woo woo and I love those as well. There's a space for that. This one was a bit of both. It was a bit of like, how do you get ideas? How do you get inspiration? How do you take action from that? And the biggest thing is you need to put yourself in these spaces, in these rooms. You need to invest in yourself. And that can start with reading a certain skill book. Like that can start with these small actions that we're taking on a daily basis, but really taking inventory of who you are right now today. And though I don't want to necessarily focus on this from a negative, but I do think this is an easy way to break this down is looking at, okay, what is not working in my life? Like, where don't I feel good right now? And just starting to write that down because that's your plan. Because the opposite of that is going to be what you start to focus on next.
You get unstuck, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times we talk about, and when people first show up, I love the introductory call, right? I love that self-discovery, that clarity call, because people are coming to us and they don't really know who we are. Maybe they're following us online. They might have been referred, whatever the case is. They get in front of us. There's always going to be skepticism, right? There's always going to be, well, is this the right person? I don't want to be pressured. Like all that is, we show up as that person. And my goal on that first 45-minute call is to help somebody get so crystal clear on their future life, where they're going, because we do it together. We collaborate and we co-create the future together with them. On that call, they get a real quick vision of who we are as coaches, who we are as human beings. And it is all about being comfortable. That's why community and putting yourself in that right space is so important. You're comfortable in that space. Yet at the same time, I help somebody see a bigger vision that they might have had before we even get on that call together. So we're getting clear on where are we today? You said, what's keeping you stuck? Document all that and then literally recreate it by writing down the opposite. What is it that you want? We often call that the mindset reset. So how do we do that in a short period of time? We had the opportunity to meet the writer and the founder of the Miracle Morning, right? And Hal was talking about that. And it's just like, you just have to start. You don't know how you're going to get to the destination you're going, but you start, you take one step and you put in the systems and the models. That came through in the 2 days where we got to invest time to, for our thoughts. You need a model. And the model that got you to where you are isn't going to be the model that's going to get you to where you want to go. So you need to find and create that new model.
To recap a little bit here of what we're talking about too, right? It's that investment portion as a whole. So wherever you're at, and like we've been through journeys as well in periods and seasons through business where it's like, this is a push, or sometimes I don't have that here. And that doesn't mean you're like tapping into or completely draining yourself dry from a financial perspective, but it does mean that you need to start thinking about growth opportunities from an investment in yourself perspective and not from a cost perspective. Because I left after this like feeling a million times better than I did before that. But it did come at a cost from an investment point of view. But I don't even see it like that anymore. And I know when I did start working with you, I had a huge like, oh, this is expensive. Like you're not purchasing like something you can hold all the time in these things, right? Like that's with any type of coaching, really, it's like that. You're not necessarily, it's not a product. So I don't get to see it right away. But you do see so much growth within yourself through putting yourself into investments and investing in your future, investing in your personal growth. And it does change who you are along the way, and it gets to where you want to go that much faster. And the second piece with this too is the action that you're taking. I've noticed this with in myself even, right? We can get into these states of gathering where it's I need more resources or information, or I'm not where I want to be yet, so I can't start doing this thing yet. I need to finish the book before I start taking any action on it. Like however big or how small that resonates for you, start to notice when you are taking action though. You can get an idea and start saying yes to it and start putting it into play right away. And that's what I noticed in this event as well, is the speed at which people that are doing big things apply their ideas. And someone asked the question in that group, and it was something along the lines of how many people have had an idea that someone else put into form or creation, and almost half the room raised their hand. And we can all have ideas, but what are ideas worth if we're not taking any action on them in the first place? What needs to happen next? Like what needs to be put into place? And that really does in a way come down to your being, and it comes down to how you're showing up for yourself and the habits that you're putting in place for yourself. And we can think all the things we want to think, but if we're not taking action, if we're not furthering developing those habits, nothing's going to change. So it's truly starting to think of, yeah, where do I want to go? What does that future self look like? What's the clarity that I want? Who do I want to become in them? And then what type of habits and actions am I taking to get myself there? But it does start with that clarity in our future self in the first place.
There's a cost, whether it's time or money or both. And there's a cost of inaction, not doing, not moving forward with an idea, or holding yourself back until a better time, or I don't have the money, or all this stuff that keeps us stuck. There's a cost to that. We went to that event and we've just signed up a brand new client. It's always amazing how you go through these events, and within a real short period of time, you start to see a shift in energy. You start to see more clients showing up for you. There's a direct correlation.
To highlight what you just said there, it was COI. This was something we learned at the event, cost of inaction. So thinking of that, and anyone listening right now for yourself and in your own life, where is there inaction happening? Where is there something else that you want? Where is there a dream maybe that you've previously were excited about that you've put on the back burner because you're not getting the results you wanted? I can relate to even that. You know, if you're not getting the results fast enough, it's like, okay, let me shrink this goal, let me die down this dream. And then all of a sudden you have no purpose left and feels like there's like a spiral happening, right? Like I think we've all gone through seasons of that. So it's getting so connected to that future self goal that no matter what, you're able to keep going. And that resiliency is there. And that happens though when you do have a community to support you, when you're putting yourselves in rooms where you're able to think bigger and stay excited about something, even when those results aren't present yet.
Getting comfortable being uncomfortable, I think, is something else that really resonated with me. Is as we're growing, as we're stepping up and moving into a business life we've never had before, it is going to be uncomfortable based on where we are today. So getting comfortable knowing I'm going to make a move, I'm going to take a step forward without even having a clear path on how I'm going to get to where I'm going. The point is you have to put yourself in that place and doing it on a regular basis. So I was talking to somebody recently and they were sharing, it's just not the right time. Now I asked, if now's not the right time, when will be the right time? Because in all likelihood, that's been the reason we don't make decisions moving forward. That all back comment that keeps us stuck. Well, there's been cases, Jacklyn, you and I haven't had the money. It's not sitting in the bank account. I'm not going to let that stop me because I know sometimes you have to just believe in yourself enough to charge it on your credit card. Like you just have to believe that it's going to come through. So charge it. That gives me 35, 45 days to make the money to pay for it. Transmission broke down today. You're going to have a new transmission in a couple days because you're going to put it on your credit card and you're going to get your car fixed. But we don't do that for our mind and we hold ourselves back.
We had one of our programs that we mentioned earlier, the Repeatable Revenue Roadmap, finish. We were in module 12 this week. So it was one of our wrap ups of that last training session and some of the takeaways that were shared. And I always find it so cool to hear what members have to say because sometimes it's almost repetitive of what previous people have said. And that's what we notice with the feedback within this session. And I just find that so fascinating. And what they really loved about this was they've been in other programs before, they've invested in things before, and maybe got one or two ideas, but like it wasn't that life-changing. Every single person in this session was saying that this was nothing like they've done before because it helped them, yes, with their business and getting that clarity, but it also changed who they were from the beginning of this program. And that only happens when you're holistically working on your identity, your being, in addition to your business. But we're not separate humans, right? Like in working towards these business goals, you also have to step into a person that's ready to receive the goals that you're working towards. That means you're showing up for a certain way with your clients. That means you have a certain attitude when you're going throughout your day. That means you're taking care also of your mental health, your emotional health, your well-being, so that you can show up top tier for your clients. So I just loved, this is one of my favorite sessions because we get to hear their feedback as well coming through this. And yeah, that was one of the big takeaways that came out of that for me.
For a client to share that they've had a block for the 21 years they've been in real estate. And during our time together, which has been just over 3 months, but on one call, an idea was sparked. And I would say we co-create ideas. We collaborate, we co-create these ideas. They had a shift in their thinking around an activity that totally transformed how they think. And now they're moving forward, getting into action and getting results from one shift. Right. And that's, as a coach, I know we just sit back and we're in awe when that happens, because to see it in front of you and then to have somebody articulate that, their life has changed because of a decision they've made from something they heard, because they invested in themselves, they put themselves in the community, and it just circles back, right? We do it all the time with our clients. So it's just as important for us to put ourselves in that situation and make sure we're always being inspired and around people that are going to help us grow.
And it's not to say that every day it is happy-go-lucky and there's this sort of fake positivity or toxic positivity in a sense. It's that you're able to get through the harder days faster. And we were reminded that of this event we went to recently. And that's what our clients were sharing with us, or our members were sharing with us and in the program as well, is that they can show up on a call and feel a certain way. And by the end of the call, you can just see it. Their energy is completely different. Their beliefs different. How they're going to proceed with the rest of their day is different. And that's within a 60-minute session. So any resistance that you've ever felt, or anyone tuning into this has ever felt around investing in yourself, it's not meant someone to be screaming at you and to feel down on things. It's to help you feel excited again. It's to help you perhaps even find what you're dreaming towards. I think some people think that they need to have that all figured out before they sign up for, that event or that coaching mentorship, whatever it is. But that's the job of a coach, is to help you dream bigger and think bigger and really break that ceiling you might feel like you're in right now and step out of that box and create a brand new future you that you might not have clarity on yet, so that you can stay committed to your goals and your beliefs throughout that process.
We believe in somebody's future story, their new story, so that when they are around us, that's who we see. We don't have old perspective, right? We haven't known a lot of our clients for years. Once we start working together, we start to see and hold them to that vision, that light that they have for themselves. And that's where the transition happens. That's where the transformation happens. And they just are committed because they want to live that life. They're on purpose, right? They're living that life of purpose. And I think that's the whole journey that we're on, is to find your purpose and live your life being that person, sharing that purpose with the world. Because you have all the energy, you have all the excitement, all the desire to do that every day once you have that clarity.
We started the entire podcast with this. It's meant to be really to help you be more of yourself. It's not meant, like I've heard people say, like your new avatar, and what is that? What does that look? I hate that. It's not a fake version. It's, if anything, we're helping people drop the BS that we've been taught throughout our life so they can be more authentically themselves. And that's really your purpose. It's learning to live your life with intention and everything that you're doing in a way that feels good for you. It's not like some magical thing that you have to create in 25 years before you have it. Like, you can have it today and it can start right now. It just, believe in who you are, essentially.
Because we often discount who we are. We've given up maybe on some goals and dreams because we've tried, it didn't happen. And yet we all know really what lights us up, right? What we love doing, what we have fun doing. And that would be my parting words of encouragement today, is just to go for it. Like, there's no time like the present. In real estate, in our offers, we always say time is of the essence, right? There's a timeline. You have to give an answer by a certain date. But do we live life that way? And I think that's what I'm noticing now, is for myself, is like, we have today. We don't know how much longer we have in the future. The past is really not going to impact me anymore unless I allow it. So let it go. But where am I going? And live there, right? Live in that space and surround yourself with people that are going to inspire you to be that person, to live that every single day.
Concept as well for me that I want to leave our listeners with today is around change. We can get so obsessed with, like, on the new year, January 1st, who am I going to be for the upcoming year, and for September, whatever the day it is for you, but it can be today. Like, it doesn't even have to be in the morning. Like, whenever you're listening to this can be the day that you decide that you're going to change. And it can be with one small step. If you're not sure what that step is, then lean into what isn't serving you right now, because the opposite of that is the thing that's going to start filling your cup and start giving you that momentum forward and giving you that ounce of clarity to take that next step. We don't have to have, and this is funny coming from me, but we don't have to have the full plan in place, as I love plans. It can be that first step. It can be an ounce of excitement towards something, and just learning to live into that as much as possible.
Notice people around you that inspire you. You're going to hear something, somebody's going to say something, and it's going to cause a spark. It's going to cause a feeling. And then the whole point for the rest of that day is asking yourself, what can I do to move me in that direction? And just take a step, believe in yourself. What's the worst that can happen, right? You end up stuck and stay exactly where you are. But that won't be the case, because you're going to cause change, and change is what we all have to live if we're going to move forward and live a bigger, better life.
And thank you so much for tuning in with us today for the Purpose with Purvis show. Make sure to subscribe. You're going to always get the first episodes as soon as they're dropped. Give us a like, comment below with anything that stood out for you today, anything you want to hear more about. We're happy to continue that conversation, and we're excited to talk to you soon.